Yeah. That's the start. You start the podcast.
It's bad.
You can only turn it inside out so many times.
It's bad
true.
when
I wish I was recording when you said that. So, do you want to enlighten the listeners with how we're starting the podcast? How you're starting the podcast, I should say.
I have brand new underwear on.
Yep.
And I feel like $1 million.
That's a fantastic way to start.
It's a great feeling.
You know it's bad when your son's like, "Daddy, you have a lot of holes in your underwear." Way more than there should be. So I got some new underwear. So I feel good. Feeling good tonight. Feeling ready to go.
Not as breezy today.
Yeah.
I'm glad. I'm happy for you.
Everything's where it should be.
Hi, I'm Nick.
And I'm Josh.
And this is the PUDs Podcast. So I'm sure the listeners are noticing there's a couple other voices up in here. So you want to introduce these guys?
We have
finally got these guys, and I want to say we've been trying to work this through for a bit. So I'm super excited to have you guys on. Genuinely,
yeah, we had to pay their fee to get them on. So, but no, we have two very special guests tonight. We have the owners, I guess, creators of Roots Coffee Roasters. Two very good friends of mine, Daniel and Matt. If you guys want to introduce yourselves, say hello.
Yeah, welcome to the PUDs Podcast.
Yeah,
welcome, folks.
It's great to be here. Yeah, we kind of had a rough time trying to get here.
Yeah.
It was a couple months back and forth.
Yeah,
But
it's all good.
We're out here
good.
now, so we
It's all
made
good.
it.
We are, we're out. It took us a little bit, but we're here. We got it.
there was some trips to Portugal that happened, and one that didn't happen. Like I said,
Ooh,
Yeah.
man.
25% of this room right now went to Portugal in the
Gotta
last couple of
way
weeks.
to rub it in. Yeah, so
Spoiler alert, it's not the one that you think.
yeah, so we're catching up a little bit. So back to July 20th, me and Ash and Rylan were supposed to fly out and meet our in-laws, Tony, Lisa, and some family out there. Have a grand old time, but it was right after that massive CrowdStrike issue that hit the Friday before. And we basically ended up at Logan Airport for, I don't know, like 9-10 hours, and we did not get to Portugal. We got thrown up on by our child, which is probably rite of passage, I think.
Man.
I think a rite of passage. So we weren't supposed to fly out to the Monday after, which Delta canceled another 350 plus flights, I think, on the East Coast. So we probably wouldn't have gotten out anyways, but we'll make it to Portugal eventually. And my bitterness is has passed now, so it's good that was like 2 weeks ago, because I'm just letting it go. We'll get there eventually. We got our full refund back and then some. So yeah, man.
I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to rub it in either, because
It's okay.
I know how much you were looking forward to, and I was.
Yeah,
I mean,
We
it was
were.
a
We were.
great trip.
Yeah.
Whoa. I don't know. This dude might need, unless, if it wasn't for this delicious coffee that you made us right before we got in here. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, Matt. So
Still too soon.
Matt made it to Portugal and kind of pushed
Well,
back.
I'm happy for you, Matt. I'm
Thanks.
happy for you.
It was a good time, for sure. A lot of people, but it was good. We enjoyed it. The
That's
family
awesome.
and I enjoyed
Cool,
it.
man. I'm
That's
glad.
awesome. I enjoyed South Shore Beach, dude. I know we talked about it on the last episode that I was trying to get out there, and
Yeah, you did.
that is the hidden gem of beaches in this area. I'll tell you, South Shore Beach in Little Compton. Either of you guys ever been out
Little
there?
Compton, yep.
I have not been,
Oh,
but I am
growing
looking
up
for a
with
good
gone.
beach day.
Yeah.
Let me tell you.
beautiful, beautiful beach. You gotta because of the last hurricane or something, a bunch of rocks were pushed up onto the beach, so you kind of got to walk a little bit to get to the nice sandy part. But once you do get there, it's like being in a whole other state, dude. It's like insane. It's beautiful.
It is a beautiful beach. I love that beach. I
So
grew
I
up
made it.
staying there a few times.
I made it out there, and I got to see the elephants in Newport.
Dude,
What are those
elephants.
things? Okay,
Yeah.
because I've been
Oh,
seeing
here
these
we
on
go.
Instagram.
Josh is
These
Josh
wooden
is gonna film
elephants.
it. I didn't even know
I'm
about
like,
it.
well, what the heck are these?
So we went and did the cliff walk on our staycation on like a Monday, and we just went over there, and people kept talking about elephants. I'm like, what the hell are people talking about? Like
So
we're at a
that's
zoo
what
or
I'm
something.
saying.
So Josh has a scoop on it because he
It's-
actually paid attention.
yeah.
I just was like, they're cool elephants,
yeah,
whatever.
I was captivated by this.
Captivated. You felt like you were in the Serengeti.
Yeah,
Wow.
I did.
Serengeti.
Walking in between
They
all
had
these
elephants
elephants.
in the Serengeti?
I have no idea, dude. I'm not a geologist. I don't know geographers.
Do you doubt me?
Geologist.
I believe me.
Yeah,
Whatever.
definitely neither.
Maybe an animal biologist?
Listen, it took me
Do they
6
have rocks
years.
out there?
It took me 6 years to do 2 years of community college. So,
The elephants were made of wood, not rocks.
no.
So you're not a geologist.
So, all right. So the elephants, So it's like called the elephant migration, but what they had done is these artists had taken this invasive weed that grows basically, and it's kind of destroying the habitat that the elephants live in, and they took that weed and turned that weed into the sculptures or the I don't know what you would call them.
Don't light up those elephants.
Yeah.
To clarify too, the weed that grows in Africa where the elephants live,
Right.
So
that
they
is
brought
destroying
it
their
over.
habitat,
Right.
Not weeds
Context
that
is important.
not weeds that are grow so severely that they destroyed the elephant habitat in
Right.
Rhode Island.
Exactly.
Wanted to clarify.
You know,
There's a lot of elephants in Rhode Island, but
Try not to make Matt spit out his coffee.
not a lot of
But
trunks.
I had that one lined up.
those wild Rhode Island elephants.
You know,
Yeah.
So
small but fierce.
so they built these statues of all these elephants, and it's I think I counted like 60 some
So
odd
many, dude.
elephants.
There's that many?
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Holy
Big
crap.
ones, small ones the size of your head.
And they keep going down.
Dr. Seuss book.
They keep going down to the entirety of the cliff walk, like all the way. If you go down to like Rough Point, like all the way around the corner. So
Right.
it's not even.
That's a
They
massive
started.
It's on the
Yeah.
cliff walk.
It's on the cliff
It's,
walk.
it's,
Wow.
it's pretty sick.
I didn't even know that.
It's on
Yeah.
like the lawns of the mansions, or I
Right.
guess the backyards of the mansions.
So you can, if you do the cliff walk, you'll see them. There's a big portion of them behind one of the buildings in Salve Regina. So
Okay.
Yep.
what we did is we parked kind of in front of that building, just walked over, and then just did a little bit of the cliff walk and just looped back to the vehicle. So it was cool. And what happens with that now is people have an opportunity to bid on the elephants to keep. So they take the proceeds from that to kind of help restore whatever's happening with the elephants. Not in Rhode Island.
Not in Rhode Island.
Not in Rhode
Africa.
Island. So I thought it was pretty cool. And
That's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah.
They're,
That is a cool
they're
thing.
really neat too. Like I remember we were taking like you said, they're life size, they're accurate, and they're trying to like recreate that whole like a herd migration.
right.
Yeah,
It's
that's
pretty
cool.
sick.
Yeah.
I saw it today on Instagram. I don't know who posted it, but I
I
saw
think it was
it.
Katie.
Yeah, probably.
maybe
That's
it was
how I
Katie.
Front of
saw
the
it.
podcast, Katie,
Yeah,
for sure.
that was Katie. And I was like, wow, those things are pretty cool. I didn't realize it was Newport, though.
Yep. So
Yeah,
it's
it's
like you can take your kids there. You can have them in the stroller, stroll around. They have a nice selfie area. You can take a picture with
Yeah,
the
like
elephants.
little platform. and
Need
stuff.
the selfie area.
Yeah, you gotta have it.
Yeah.
You gotta have it. So yeah, no, I thought that was really cool. So yeah, we got up to that.
Yeah, it's sick, man. Yeah, we had a staycation. Just did a bunch of stuff. We got down there one day. I'm trying to think, we didn't do too much. Oh, it's super interesting. So
Yeah.
leave it there.
Nothing as interesting as not going to Portugal. So
No, no.
Yeah, we had a staycation too in Portugal.
It's okay to backhand. Right.
It's all right. I'm gonna let that one lie. I'm gonna let that one lie.
oh man, you want to get
This has
into
been my whole life, Nick. Dealing with
Yeah.
this guy.
Oh man, you want to get?
I'm
into
sorry.
Yes. Yeah. It's brutal.
Josh keeps trying to transition.
How long you guys known each other? I guess.
Yeah.
While we're at it.
Yeah, I was curious.
Well, it goes
How do you
back-
guys know each other?
I think I've known him longer than he's known me. So
Yeah, probably.
it goes back to I would see him at church growing up in the back, like in the middle of the row, and I'd be walking to the old Henry Lord, the one that is kind of
Yeah.
sinking, and
Yeah.
and then they closed it. But
Yeah.
I would be walking over there, and then I'd see him at the corner with all his friends, and he had these old massive
full-
baggy shirts.
Full gangster
Yes.
outfit.
Yeah,
Yes.
full gangster.
Yes.
I mean,
That
the
was-
whitest
that was
gangster
the
I've
middle
ever
school
seen,
era.
for sure.
Listen, I feel you, buddy.
Full gangster.
Pretty fly for a white
Two
guy.
t-shirts,
but,
you know,
Oh, yeah.
white on top with the collar
Yeah.
on the bottom.
Yeah.
All the way the shirt
They-
down to the knees.
Yeah.
Just
The
think of it-
shorts down to the ankles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just think of this, Daniel. Josh could have been the whitest gangster you ever knew.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
true. That is
I
true.
could have been,
Matt,
yeah.
I think Matt out-gangstered you, dude. I'm
Maybe
not gonna lie.
you grew up in Fall River.
I did,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a little more ghetto in Fall River than it is.
Debatable.
Oh, watch
Debatable.
out, dude. Watch out,
Debatable.
dude. That's his hometown.
We'll save that for another day. Me
Yeah,
and
I
you go
guess
back
so.
and forth.
That's another Spuds.
All I'm gonna say about Fall River, you guys let somebody be dead in a pool for like 3 days before you found them.
Yeah, dude, it just depends on the time of year.
Oh man.
All right, let's get into the music moment. We gotta get out of here.
All right, man. So this week, and this was pretty timely because this actually came out last Thursday, but Porter Robinson dropped a new album called Smile. And it's funny, so the literal name of it is Smile, all caps, exclamation point with a space, and then a little smiley, so like basically a colon and a capital D, which which I thought was kind of cool because it just throws it to sort of this whole like, I guess, texting sort of culture and everything that exists nowadays. So yeah, this just dropped literally last week, 2024. It's his third studio album. I've been a big fan of him since his second album, Nurture, came out in 2021. It's hard to describe what he's going for. Like, I'd say he was almost EDM, but like progressive EDM. A lot of things going on. His first album's like super, like, you got 6-7 minute like songs in there that are like not really vocal driven at all, like just straight up like different sort of sections of like these sort of electronic songs with synths and like guitars and all sorts of things going on. This one I would say is a little bit more approachable. It's a little bit more pop driven. It's already got 4 singles off it, which is pretty sick considering it came out like, I mean, again, they released stuff ahead of time. But considering it's been out like a week and a half, I think it's already gotten 2 new singles besides the ones that were actually released, promoted the album. And it was kind of cool. Like he did a really cool troll job kind of going into this, which again, like I feel like nowadays there's all sorts of stuff where it's like Taylor Swift drops a surprise album. People are like, oh my God, like this stuff is cool. He actually did a pretty good thought out thing for this. So going back to like February this year, he actually started removing all his music from streaming platforms, which is pretty legit. Like he actually started going in and like ripping it from like Apple and like all the Spotify, all these places. So you couldn't get it anymore. So it seemed like he was just done. And then, like, in April, he dropped a new single, which I thought was pretty sick.
Yeah. Draws attention for sure.
Yeah, it was pretty sick. So the singles off this so far are Cheerleader, Knock Yourself Out, the title track, Russian Roulette, Kitsune Mason Freestyle. And this isn't a single yet, but I'm sure it will be. And my favorite song on this album is actually called Is There Really No Happiness? So I'm not sure if anybody's familiar with Porty Robinson. If you're into sort of just like, I'd say any music, just check it out because I think you'll find a song that you like. He kind of spans a bunch of genres. Super creative dude. He's been really popular. I don't know what his actual age is right now, but he kind of hit popularity young when he was like 18 years old. So, so yeah, that's my plug for this week is check out Smile by Porter Robinson. Great album. I've been listening to it on repeat pretty much, and it's been a good running song too. So, do we have any Josh's Jazzy music moments?
I do not have a Josh's Jazzy music moment. Don't shame me.
Shame.
I'll throw it to the guests.
Yeah,
do you guys
I
have
heard one of them might have one.
anything that's been catching your ear in the last couple weeks or so?
I mean, nothing that was just released, but
Yeah, it's fine.
Brian Culbertson, great jazz artist. I'm more into like the fusion jazz stuff, and so I play the bass. Yannick Gwizdala out of California, dude's nasty, but it's the new age jazz where he takes like a lot of the bass lines and makes lead lines from it and stuff like that. It's incredible music.
Who is that?
Yannick Gwizdala.
Okay.
So he's a bass player out of Cali.
Good luck spelling that.
Yeah. Well, it'll be in the show notes.
Yeah.
We'll throw that up
I'm
in the
not
show
even gonna
notes.
try.
We'll throw it up in the show notes.
Awesome, man. Awesome.
I personally like it's 2 bands. It's the Midnight, just kind of more like
Midnight, yeah.
the Midnight. They're kind of like electric but 80s kind of fusion.
Yeah,
It really really harkens back to some of that like that synth, that 80s synth a little bit.
Yeah, I'm a sucker
Yeah.
for that stuff.
Yeah.
Nick loves some poppy synth.
Yeah,
I
it is
do.
very
I
poppy
do.
synth. Totally.
I do.
So it's the Midnight and then Dirty Loops, which is, I mean, they are just a ridiculous group of
I don't know
musicians.
that.
They're Berkeley musicians.
Oh,
and
yeah, you told me about them. Yeah.
It's like a trio, and I mean, God, these musicians they make you want to snap your guitar in half and never
Like I
pick
feel
it
like
up
I feel like I
again.
don't understand this.
Oh yeah, it's just absolutely dumb
Wow.
how amazing they are. So
Wow.
I just been kind of like on that kick right now.
Sick.
You said Dirty Loops?
Dirty Loops and the Midnight.
The Midnight.
Yeah, the Midnight
Okay.
is some good driving music.
It's perfect driving music
Yeah.
at night or like on a rainy day, just coasting. It's good stuff.
Beautiful.
Sick, man.
That's awesome. I
Very
gotta
moody.
check out Midnight.
Yeah, check them
Check
out.
that out. You ready to get into the main topic?
Yeah, let's do it. All right, so this is some damn delicious coffee, guys. That's all I'm gonna say.
All I know is I am highly caffeinated right now, and I think I need to do every episode like this, first of all.
So alert.
So, like I said before, Daniel and Matt are the owners, creators of Roots Coffee Roasters. They're roasting right in Rochester, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Rochester, Massachusetts. So super local. And we thought it'd be a really cool idea to have them on because if there's one thing you guys know that I love coffee, and you guys, Matt and Daniel, both know that I love all kinds of coffee. Like I'll drink trash coffee. I'll drink
Cumby's coffee.
I'll drink Cumby's coffee, but I have not stopped drinking Roots coffee since you guys have started roasting. So, and it's obviously something that I think a lot of our listeners, especially if you're in the hiking community, I'm sure you are.
You're probably drinking coffee. I was fortunate enough to get some beans that Joss passed along to me, and we're doing some cold brew with them, and it's fantastic. That's like sitting in our fridge right now, so we just cracked into that.
So we figured we would kind of ask a few questions, ask about kind of the roasting process and stuff like that. But I guess before we get into any of the coffee stuff, we are a hiking podcast and all things that you talk about while hiking.
Which is pretty vague when you think about it.
Yeah.
But it's a catchy tagline.
But do either you guys, Daniel or Matt, do either of you guys have a favorite hike that you do? Is hiking something that you do
or
at all?
anything like that?
Yeah, we hike. We hike together.
Yeah.
We've done Acadia together.
Yeah,
Sick.
it was a good time.
We did the Beehive and the... What was it? The Bubbles? The North Bubbles or something like that?
Oh, yeah.
Those are two
You
of my
got an excellent
favorites
memory,
because you
dude.
actually
Cool.
had to climb.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Dude, the wives were
didn't like
crap
it,
in their
but-
pants. Dude. It was
Oh,
fantastic.
you brought the wives?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Dude, Sarah almost had a heart attack. we basically had to carry her.
Yeah. But we liked Acadia. I really liked New Hampshire, and we liked Vermont. My wife and I couldn't tell you what hikes we did, but we went to Stowe, and we did a couple of those things out there. That was really nice. And then we've done parts of the Pemi Loop.
Okay.
I wouldn't say I've done the whole thing, but my buddy Adam, him and I, we'll do some runs.
That's friend of the podcast, Adam.
Yeah, he's been on.
Yeah.
Him, Rob, myself, we'll run a couple of loops over there. I don't know what the names are.
Have you done Franconia Ridge? Or
Maybe.
Okay. Yeah. That's all good.
So you're like me. I've done some hikes.
Yeah,
Nick, I wait for Nick to tell me what hikes I've done.
Yeah.
I know they were long.
What's the name?
I know they were long, but I don't know what what the names were.
That's awesome, though. So, I mean, you have a background. You it sounds like you guys get outdoors. Probably much more than me.
Him more than I. I
Yeah.
mean, I'll do some casual strolls here and there, but nothing too.
That's because you and I think we enjoy the finer things in life.
That's it, man.
A nice comfy chair and a nice hot coffee.
Absolutely. Just chilling.
Oh, man. So, as far as Roots goes, how did you guys get started? Like, how did this even come about?
I think it was something I think for years we've been kind of just like back and forth talking about, like always wanting to roast coffee. We've loved coffee. I mean, the whole point of Roots was that like we've just grown up on it. Like we've grown up on coffee. It's been such an integral part of our families.
Yeah.
And like we just have that common love for it. So eventually just kind of started looking, late night Facebook Marketplace scrolls, you know what I mean? Just end up Facebook tells you what you need. You don't go on Facebook with any desire. It tells you what you need.
That's what I say about Aldi. Every time I go grocery shopping at Aldi, I know
find what you need.
I know I'm not going to be able to get the same thing 2 weeks in a row. Aldi's going to tell me what I'm eating for dinner for the next week.
Yeah.
For sure, yeah. So I just kind of was scrolling on there and started seeing some more coffee stuff and just kind of started reaching out to him. I don't know. What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, we started religiously roasting probably the end of 23.
Okay.
Before that, I always expressed to Daniel that I wanted to roast, and it was something I wanted to do. Looked into hand roasters and things to do over the
Old
fire.
popcorn machines.
Yeah, popcorn machines.
That's a funny story.
Yeah,
Oh, man.
looked
That's
at all
popcorn
that
machines.
stuff. And I just, my son was born. I was on paternity leave. Daniel's like, hey, we should start roasting. And it just happened.
Started.
Yeah, we love, like, for me, a good vacation is out all day sightseeing and then finding as many coffee shops as you can and just trying as much coffee as you can.
Yeah, I get
So-
that vibe from you.
I was like, when he said, let's do some roasting, I'm like, let's do it. I mean, if I have somebody that'll buy in,
Yeah.
split the cost, let's do it. And from there, we
got the wives on board.
We got the wives on board.
That's a big.
Just
That's a
number
big
one.
need.
Number
Yeah.
one. You need
Yeah.
that.
we started with, this is going to be super expensive. I don't know if we're going to be able to swing it. And then you give them the actual number, and they're like, "Oh, not too bad."
Yeah. You just let down the expect a little bit.
Yeah. You just got to bring them all the way up just to let them down, because then that's when it happens. But
act now, act fast.
If we don't do it,
Before the deal lets up.
but
we went put that sense of urgency out there.
We went through we found a great deal on a roaster, which helped.
Yeah.
And then we went through a lot of different batches. Some taste like cat piss. Gonna be honest with you. Some of the first stuff, right
out there, is not good.
Yeah,
I don't know what you're into, but
well, I mean, I guess if you like that stuff. I know they make coffee that the cats will eat it and like digest it and stuff, and they'll make it. But
not to cut you off, but like, what is that? So, what is a coffee roaster, like a bean roaster? Like, what does that look? Is it like a giant oven? Like, what does it look like?
Yeah, so it's like a big tumbling oven almost.
Yeah.
And it pushes. So what happens in the roasting process, right? You throw what's called a green bean in. The green bean is the seed of the coffee cherry. So coffee is an actual cherry, or at least they call it a coffee cherry. They separate the beans from it, or the seeds, and there's multiple ways to separate it. Every different process has a different flavor, with whether it's honey process, wash, natural, whatever it may be. So through that, you take the green bean, you throw it in the machine, and now through the profile that we created, which is how much smoke it's getting, how much heat it gets for the period of time, how much heat it's getting. As you back it off, there's a couple of different things, but the roaster is roasting the whole time. It's pushing fire into it, and it's pushing the heat, which eventually turns the bean black or brown or black, depending on how you want it. That's a very simple way of explaining it.
Yeah, that's good.
Because there's definitely more intricacies, and the profile, like the same bean you can roast in different profiles, and it'll give you a completely different taste, which is great. So on the roasting side, it goes through that machine.
That drum is constantly spinning because you don't want the beans to just settle. Because if they settle, they're going to cook unevenly, right? So if they're just kind of face down, imagine if you laid them all out on a cookie sheet and put it in the oven. Like the bottom's gonna get nice and toasty because you've contacted the metal. So having that drum roller just kind of keeps an even roast through the bean, keeps the beans consistent as well.
Yeah, I was curious. It's never something I've thought about before.
It's just think of it like a big drum. And it's just constantly running it.
It's pulling heat through.
And out.
Yeah, it's pulling air through, so you're kind of getting convection heat from the air being pulled through, and you're actually getting heat from contact heat from actually being against the drum. So it's kind of, you get to control how much air you're pulling through, which controls, it changes the flavor of the bean. Like so much of the flavor, it's called your profile, but it's your whole curve. There's a whole science to it, which, how much heat you're pulling in, how quickly the bean heats up to how slow the cool is afterwards. And there's just a whole process to it that just changes every, you can use the same bean, but make it a million different ways.
So when the profile that you guys are talking about, so is that what gives it the bean different flavor, makes it more
So like for our different offerings that we have now, each bean or each blend has a different profile.
Right.
So I wouldn't roast, let's say, a Guatemala the same way I roast our Legacy.
Okay.
Because the different sorts of, the different beans, so one's from Guatemala, one's Colombian and Ethiopian, you're going to get different natural flavors from those different areas of the world, right? Because of the way the bean's grown, how high in altitude the bean is grown. So what happens is, as you're roasting it, our job isn't to bring out the next bean that you've never had in your world, right? Our job is just to take out those little pieces of goodness, right? The chocolatey flavors, the caramel, the fruits, and make it explode in your mouth. And that's what we do. We're taking something that tastes like cat piss, right? If you just have it green.
Right.
Yeah. Even when you smell a green bean, the smell is...
So it smells nothing like coffee.
No, not at all.
Close. No, it smells awful.
Yeah, so our job is to take that, throw our own profile, our own take on it, right? And then take out those flavors that we think would be best with that bean and bring it out to the masses, which is what I think we've been doing pretty successfully now since June 1st when we launched the company officially.
Yeah,
awesome.
we had messed around
Yeah,
with
sick.
quite a few beans, quite a few profiles. I mean, we tasted really bad coffee over the last year, and we've
For sure,
kind of tasted some really good coffee in the same way. So it's been fun to as a coffee lover. Like, it's so fun to experiment and see what you can pull out of different beans and different profiles and how to roast it. So the whole science, you don't even realize the whole science behind actually developing and roasting coffee. Like it's awesome. It really is so cool, and it's been a fun experience getting off the ground.
Yeah, we sorry, I don't mean to cut you
No,
off.
go ahead.
We definitely had some oh crap moments. Like, is this gonna happen? Like, even our wives, like Bree and Sarah, they're like,
Start getting shaky
I
a little
don't
bit.
think that this is gonna work for you guys, because they were just as much the test dummies as we were.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like,
And,
try this.
and I know Bree was definitely second guessing that we'd ever make a good roast, because they were like, "You guys already bought two different kinds of beans. Why are you not selling already?" Well, we're trying to create our own profile.
So you're trying to figure
So-
things
So
out.
it took a while.
That actually is my question is, how long did it take you guys to like get to the point where you're like, yes, this is it. This is what we want to put out.
I would say within I think by April, so like about 6 months of good and bad batches.
Yeah.
We finally came out with our first one, which is the Guatemala. I say came out, but we launched in June, but we finally found a roast that we could keep consistent.
Yeah.
And then we kind of took that, we tweaked it for the different beans, and we found that, like, for us, there's a certain sweet spot, right? And then within that sweet spot, we started experimenting and saying, okay, is this, for this bean, going to work? Sometimes it didn't, and sometimes it did.
Yeah.
So it just took a lot
Trial
of
and error.
bad, because you think we're roasting between a pound and a half, 2 pounds each time.
Yeah, that was going to be my question is how many beans did you guys have to go through before
Yeah,
you
we-
finally hit a point where you're like, oh, right, we know where we're going?
Yeah, easily, I would say
we
like
went
20,
for
30 pounds.
Yeah.
And is that because
Yeah.
like necessity you have to do like a pound? Like is there a minimum amount of beans
For
you can
our
roast?
roaster,
Yeah.
Our roaster is a 700 gram max,
Yep.
so you can only roast up to that amount, which, relatively speaking, when you're trying to mass produce, is not a ton.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it's perfect for us. Like when we were doing the test batches, I think we were doing 400 grams.
Yeah.
And he would take 200, I would take 200. We would experiment with trying it different ways too.
Yeah.
Like once we got a bean that we liked, we were like, okay, now it's time to taste it as drip coffee. Now it's time to try it as espresso.
Yeah.
Now it's time to try it as a latte and see like, is this actually going to work for these different varieties? So, definitely experimenting not only with the bean itself, but with the different ways to use the bean.
That's so cool. It's so dynamic because like you guys are talking about the roasting process itself, but then you have so many different varieties of what you can do with that
Yeah.
coffee
For
bean to
sure.
make coffee.
Definitely.
So it's so cool.
And you'll see with us that we tend to favor the espresso type latte, cappuccino, stuff like that. And I think that just comes from being Portuguese.
Being Portuguese.
Yeah, it just comes from
Yeah,
that.
just
For
like,
sure.
like strong,
Honestly, that's
strong
what it is.
coffee.
But I like what I made for you guys today was the Chemex. That's a good way to get, if you have time, right? Because you guys saw it took time.
Yeah.
Right.
If you're like in the morning and you're like, oh man, I'm really early for work. Let me make some coffee. You make a Chemex.
Never happened to me
It's
a day in my
so
life
good.
where I said, I'm early for work.
yeah.
What can I do?
Yeah.
Let me tell you that for
I'll do
sure.
some fancy drip coffee.
Yeah.
No way.
But it's good. It's like, it tastes better than normal drip. And you get a lot of some of the, like the more of the chocolatey and the caramel
Oh, yeah,
notes
for
that
sure.
you wouldn't normally. So for me, like, I mean, I like the Chemex, but I'm always going to favor an espresso. Just because that's how I was raised. It's espresso. I think my first, when I got off the breast, right? My first drink
Which wasn't
was an
until he was
espresso.
15. No,
Yeah. No, 16 and a half.
Driving age.
The espresso, right? My first thing was single shot, right?
Yeah.
So
And the biscuit.
yeah, scotch. That's it.
Oh man. So I guess my next question would be then. So where are you guys sourcing your beans? Like what?
Yeah, so right now we pull from a couple different places. When we first started, we had tried Guatemalan beans, and we really liked Guatemalan, like right off the bat. And we knew that was going to be our first single origin coffee was Guatemalan, just because the flavor we were able to pull from it.
No, single origin is just like it's from one.
Yeah,
the whole roast is one bean from one place.
One roast from one place.
Okay.
And then the blend was more of a discovery process, because we would try all sorts of different. We would get these little sample packets of beans, and we would just keep mixing, Colombian with Ethiopian, Honduras. We try them individually so we could understand the bean itself. Yeah. So we try the Honduran bean by itself just to say, hey, what's this pulling? Then we try the Colombian bean by itself. What's this pulling? Hey, the bitterness of this would match the fruitiness of this. I feel like they would complement each other. Then we try that blend. Oh crap! Like that didn't freaking work out. This tastes like hell. So then you'd play around with it a little bit, and definitely that's where all the experimenting came in with like the 30 pounds of beans, and it was just like, okay, we found, the Guatemalan. We knew that's going to work, no problem. But then it was establishing the blend that was more complex, because you're bringing two beans together from two different places on the planet, and you are roasting them two individual ways, and then you got to combine them and try to feel out how it complements one another. And so right now our legacy blend is a Colombian Ethiopian mix. Okay. And you can talk about the flavor profiles of that a little bit more.
Yeah, so the legacy, like Daniel was saying, is the Colombian Ethiopian. And that when we came up with that blend, like I said, my vacations are like going and finding a bunch of coffee shops. Right. Yeah. And that was something when I went to Seattle, shameless plug. I went to Seattle. We were there for a weekend, and I think I counted. I had like 27 different coffee shops that I tried.
Wow, dude.
Yeah, big bill. But one of my most favorite places that we tried was I can't think of the name, so I'm not even gonna say it. But they did a take on Colombian Ethiopian, and that's the first time where I had it.
Was it Anchorhead?
It was Anchorhead, yeah, thanks, because I couldn't think of it. So Anchorhead in Seattle, they made a blend of Colombian Ethiopian, not the same blend, but something along the lines. So I said, I love this. Like as an espresso, you get the real thick body of the Colombian, but then you get the fruity afternotes, right, of like the dried berries. You depending on that Ethiopian that we have, you're getting more of the dried berries, the plums, and then the Colombian you get like the caramel, the chocolate, the cocoa bean, right? So when I tried it there, I was like, we have to recreate this. So when we started roasting, I told you from the get-go, we have to do a Colombian Ethiopian. And Daniel was on the fence first, because Daniel was more of like a Colombian, like full body, and I'm more of
like a darker chocolatier, kind of deeper and richer coffee. Yeah. I'm not necessarily too much, and I'll have fruit. It. And I've actually, through all this experimenting, I've really grown to appreciate the fruity notes a little bit more. Yeah. And but I pretty much that's why I like the Guatemalan more, just because it's more my style. But for him, he was like, we needed like a fruitier thing. I'm like, I don't know if people are gonna like it. I feel like the legacy is definitely our popular.
Yeah, and I think that's compliments to us, right? Because we put so much time into that. Because we blend two beans together, so what, right? But it's not just that. We had to get the right. Yeah, we had to get the right blend of Colombia to Ethiopia. Because I didn't want it to be like let's just throw some fruit on top and make believe it's a blend. I wanted it to blend perfectly so that whether you have it as cold brew, whether you have it as espresso, you're going to get the body that everyone wants, right? But you're also going to get that fruit that you're like, wow, this is actually refreshing. Right. Which you wouldn't typically say with coffee, right? So with us in the Colombian, the legacy, that was one of the biggest things that we wanted. And to harken back to what Daniel said, roots for us, the reason why we picked the name was because the root of all that we did, all the family, right? Because we're both very family oriented, was a pot of coffee at the middle of the table, some biscuits, right?
Yeah.
And you're just having fun, right? Portuguese people are just laughing, making fun of each other, but drinking coffee. Yeah. Whether you were 8 years old or 65.
Whether it's 90 degrees or whether it's 10 degrees, there's a hot pot of coffee on the table at all times.
So that's what we both knew and grew up with.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. So the name comes from your roots to your family.
Literally.
The roots drinking coffee.
Which is our roots. And then our legacy blend was, it being our first blend, we wanted to harken back to sort of like our legacy of coffee.
Yeah, that was going to be my question about. So in the legacy, blend is like, I'd take it that's like your sort of flagship of like, that's like
for sure
the main blend that you guys are like
definitely. And then
most passionate about.
You can kind of see on the label itself, there's an azulejo pattern, which is like that Portuguese blue and white tile pattern, which just harkens back again to our Portuguese roots, which just inspired our love and our passion for coffee. I mean, I remember my mom picking me up, I think from elementary school, and we'd go to Tim Hortons down in Fall River, not too far from Henry Lord, where where is it? Ocean State Job Lot, I think, is over there, and South Coast Marketplace Plaza. But we would go to Tim Hortons, and I'd get a donut and a coffee. And I'm like in elementary school with a donut and a coffee. You know what I mean? But I just, I remember that growing up. Like, coffee was just always, I started drinking coffee at such an early age, controversial, but whatever.
Yeah.
But it's just, it's just part of our roots.
Yeah, definitely.
Pun intended.
So the legacy blend, you're saying it's Colombian Ethiopian. You're pulling the chocolatey, caramelly, and then just a little touch of fruit on.
Yeah.
So what about the other blend you have is Guatemalan blend, right?
The single origin.
Yeah, so that's a single origin.
Oh, yeah, so it's not a blend.
It's not a blend. It's single origin, just sourced from Guatemala. That, like I said, is kind of a little bit more, it's a richer, a little bit darker, not darker roast, but you get some of the chocolatier notes rather than the fruitier notes, which to me is like a darker taste. But both Legacy and the Guatemalan are medium roasts right now. And, he's definitely partial to the Legacy blend.
Yeah.
I really love the Guatemalan, but then it was like I started having the Legacy at home, and I really started falling in love with the
I can only speak
Legacy.
to, so like I was saying, in our fridge, we got your Guatemalan right now that I coarse ground and is sitting cold brew. I've had it the last couple of days, and it's freaking delicious.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's
very good.
Thank you. And we're actually excited to announce that we'll be releasing a new roast coming out. So Matt, you can we want to officially announce it on the PUDs Podcast. You guys are the first to know.
We got breaking news.
Breaking news.
Yeah.
Coming in through live.
Buckle up. Here we go.
So Matt, talk on that.
So we realized that not everyone likes medium roast, right? Or not everyone prefers it. So in our efforts to diversify and get more beans out to more people, we're launching by the end of this month. So we're in August. By the end of this month, we'll be launching a dark roast single origin, which is just Colombian. That is going to give you the boldness you need without the bitterness. Because one of the things that I told Daniel from the get-go, I can't stand a bitter coffee.
I'm with you. I'm with you, brother. I hate bitter coffee. I can't do it.
And it's dark roast. It has to put some hair on your chest, but it doesn't need to. It doesn't make.
It doesn't need to be burnt.
Right. It doesn't need to make you.
It doesn't
feel
need to taste like charcoal.
Or motor oil, right?
Yeah.
You're like, wow, this is great, and it's like burning your insides, right? Because it's so bitter. Yeah. So like for us and for me specifically, I was like, I want a dark roast, but I do not want bitterness. So that was one of the hearken things that we were looking at when we're saying, okay, we want a dark roast, we want a dark roast. So with the Colombian, you're going to get a lot of the same notes. I shouldn't say the same notes, but you'll get a lot of the chocolate. You're going to get a lot more of the baker's chocolate, so that real rich flavor.
Ooh, like the dark chocolate.
Yeah. Okay. Because that Colombian, once you push it past the medium, you start getting to the dark, that's what you're going to get. You're going to get more of that baker's chocolate. You're going to get that really rich caramel. Not necessarily the sweetness, but more the tarty flavor of it. But with this single origin, we wanted to say, okay, if this is our first dark roast, we're gonna make it taste amazing. And I'm hoping that the masses think the same, but I think they will.
Yeah.
Because that Colombian tastes good. And I'm not a dark roast fan.
Well, and we got a ton of requests for a dark roast.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
and I'm curious too. So, like, I think you guys kind of partially answered my question, but when they say medium roast versus dark roast, is that the type of beans that produce that type of roast, or it's like literally you're roasting it longer?
Yeah.
So medium is not roasted as long as a dark roast.
Yeah, so
So,
it's,
Matt, talk about the whole coffee development process, like the dry phase, the Mylar phase, and then into first crack and second crack. Talk about that, and I think that'll establish a good understanding of it.
So when you put the green bean in the machine, what happens is you start to go through each phase. You start green, and then you're going into the dry phase. The dry phase is where is actually where our bread and butter is. The dry phase is when it starts to turn into like a yellowy, really light color, but it's not green anymore. And that's where you start to get a lot of the flavors out of it.
A lot of the flavors developed in that phase. It's a crucial phase.
So for us, we want to prolong that piece right there without over baking the beans. Because you can prolong that for 30, 45, 50 minutes, but the beans are going to taste like they were baked in an oven. So it's that sweet spot of trying to find all the flavors and then allowing it to go. So after the dry end phase, it goes into first crack, which first crack is where you start to hear like popcorn sound because the beans are cracking, and that's where you start to get right to the light roast. And between first crack and second crack is light and medium roast. Which is all based on the timing of how
the longer you wait after first crack, you're starting to get out of that light into more of the medium.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then the longer you let it develop, it's becoming more of a medium into that second crack, which is like once you hit second crack, you're definitely in dark roast territory.
Yeah, so second crack is dark roast, and then you can go beyond second crack. I don't advise if anyone's ever thinking on roasting. I wouldn't advise
we experimented.
Yeah.
My basement was smoked out,
Yeah.
the fire alarms were going off.
You guys we're gonna be the super dark roast people.
Yeah, and we tried it, and definitely 0 out of 10 wouldn't recommend. Would not recommend.
It's all a balancing act. It really is.
For sure.
But with the coffee, what happens after the first crack, since we're talking about it, is for the first piece of the bean, you're introducing heat. But what happens after first crack, the beans start to let go of heat. So you really have to time it out so that, one, they're not overcooking, right? Like I said before. And two, you have to be able to push or stop pushing heat at a certain time so that the beans can develop themselves. Because if they don't, if you continue to push heat, you'll get a bean that is roasted in 7 minutes and it's second crack, right? But you're not going to get the flavor that we're looking for.
Okay.
It didn't have that time to develop at the beginning end where it really should. Like you can roast quick, but it's not going to taste good.
So is it just like sort of different chemicals and stuff that the bean releases that produce those flavors at certain times, like when you prolong it, or?
So it's not necessarily different chemicals. It's more of the soil that it's grown with. The altitude can play difference on the
Definitely.
flavor.
Wow.
That's why different origins have different flavors.
Okay.
It's all developed. It's all based on where it is in the conditions of the soil of the actual environment, the mountaintop that it's on. So even like when like massive roasters start sourcing, they try to go directly to the farmer so they can get a consistent. You can get a Colombian from one part of Colombia and a different part of Colombia, and they're going to be very different just because the soil's different, the location's different, the mountain's different. You guys know that as hikers, and the mountain, every mountain is unique. The soil, the terrain, everything is different about it. And so the same thing is like if you plant a coffee bush here versus there, you're going to have different flavors. And so we're just pulling out those natural flavors from where they're originated from. We're pulling that out of it, and that development phase really is crucial to pulling those flavors out. And your light roast is typically going to be, that's where you're going to have the most flavor of the origin is in your light roast. Typically a lot of fruity notes, a little bit more kind of like sour. Is
acidic.
That the word you would use?
Acidic.
It's more acidic. Then into your medium roast, that's when you're going to start to balance between like, okay, this tastes like coffee, but I'm still getting those fruity notes or those chocolatey notes, those caramelly notes. Then you get into your dark roast, and a lot of dark roasts start to trend towards tasting the same. It's just a more of a kind of a burnt flavor, but not in a burnt in a bad way. But it's just that darker, bolder, kind of what you would associate with a coffee flavor.
Yeah,
if
what
you will.
normal people would. Yeah.
And so you lose a lot of that. Like you're just drying out the bean, and it's just more so becoming about that smoky flavor. I think is probably the word I'm trying to find. Yeah. And darker roast, that's where you lose a lot of the origin notes of the individual bean, and all darker roasts start to trend towards starting to taste the same way eventually.
Okay. This is actually all great information because
Yeah,
I've wanted all this stuff, and I can't stand a coffee that's too acidic.
Yeah.
Like it gives me heartburn, and like you guys have found such a good balance of like I've definitely never had that issue. I do the same thing as Nick. I do a ton of cold brew. I've cold brewed. I've slow dripped your coffee now, and it never has been like I'm gonna be burping this
agreed.
up like, for the rest of the day or whatever.
Yeah.
And like you said before, with a little bit of fruitiness in that legacy blend, it's refreshing. It's so tasty.
You trying to steal my coffee?
It was. Yeah.
He's like, you got any left?
I'm out of coffee.
You give me way less than yourself.
I know, but I'm
at least not everybody here.
Yeah. For the listeners, Matt just checked Daniel's cup to see if there's any coffee left
Ridiculous.
on the ottoman that they're propping their coffee cups on.
And I'm just gonna throw it to something else too. Like, listen to these guys talk about this. Reminds me so much of you brewing beer, dude. Like the way that they describe it.
I don't think I ever went that far down the proverbial rabbit hole, but it's similar to with dry hopping and boil times and things like that. Because with hops and beer, you're getting that bitterness out of it, but then when people dry hop, you're getting more of that flowery flavor. And it definitely a lot of parallels.
You don't realize the science. Like when you really start diving, it's like, okay, let's start roasting coffee. But I had no idea what the hell I was getting into because it's like, this is science. Science was my worst subject in high school.
100%. I mean, I went down enough to do yeast starters and did a couple lagers, which is super weird when you're seeing beer ferment at like 40 degrees, 42 degrees. And it actually smells like sulfur when lager yeast ferments, which is weird. It smells like rotten eggs, like quite literally. So like, I remember the first time that happened, I was like, what's going on? What's wrong? And it's like, no, that's what it's supposed to smell like.
Crazy.
But it's again, it literally releases sulfur when the yeast starts fermenting beer. So
the more you know.
Cool. Yeah, but I think I speak for both of us when I'm like, damn, like
there's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot to think about when you're next time you're drinking a cup of coffee, and hopefully it's some Roots coffee.
Yeah,
think about all of that. Sure. One question too, I've been hanging on the back of my head for a little bit too. So when you guys are roasting stuff, I'm assuming this is something that you can sort of program, like what the oven's doing, or you guys like literally, you guys aren't literally sitting there and being like, okay, like now let's. Yeah, so, is it a mix of both? Like,
yeah, so we come up with the roast and the profile. Like we set up like at certain times what happens when.
Yep.
And then our machine allows us to auto roast.
Cool.
So what that means is we can save the profile, load it in, and let it do its thing.
Sick.
Our machine it's like a prosumer, so it's not necessarily the biggest machine. So there's still a lot of hands-on.
It's like definitely entry level, like entry level pro.
Yeah,
roasting.
for sure.
Like we're not we're not like we don't have the best.
Yeah, again,
to
like to throw it to brewing a little bit, because again, like I've pretty much been out. I had a big propane stove and like an 8-gallon basically pan that I was using to do stuff. So yeah, I was curious how much you guys are like. Are you guys there like manning it to see that there's not like a boil over, like your version of that kind of deal?
We have our eyes on it. Like so, we'll toss the beans in, and he'll typically kind of keep more of an eye on the tablet while I'll multitask. Like I'm either prepping the next batch to roast, or I'm measuring out the beans and packing new bags and sealing them.
So
labeling
instead of
bags.
brew days, do you guys have like roast days where you're just sitting?
Exactly.
Yeah, and you guys just and your wives are like, you guys smell like coffee for just perpetually.
It's so funny because like my basement is just taking on a burnt popcorn type like I just permanently have burnt popcorn down there. Everyone's like,
that's where it smells.
Burnt popcorn. And I'm like, don't worry about it. Like,
don't worry about it.
So we've just been
so cool.
Like you just find like what works for you. And he had paternity leave, which was great because he took it like extended. So instead of doing just 6 months up front, he did 3 months. Right?
I did like a couple of days a week for 3 months, and then one of those days in the afternoon, I would go roast with Dan because I could do like a couple hours. I'd bring the kid along.
So he's due for another kid, so we can keep doing that.
I was gonna say, I feel like you need some more. You need some more roast time.
I just gotta time it. I gotta time it because my work, it has to be every year.
Yeah, and
So
so
he was born in November, so I got to wait a little bit.
what we typically do too is like we're not just getting together and roasting every week because we really want to pride ourselves on providing fresh coffee to our quality coffee.
Yeah, that's
and
awesome.
So we're not just like roasting and letting it sit on the shelves. Like we want to get people beans within like the week that it was roasted, essentially as quick as we can get those beans into people's hands because we want it to be fresh. We want, the flavor to be good and to develop really, really well for the consumers. So we're only roasting we're kind of roasting to order almost. When orders start to come in, we'll get that fresh roast out and get it to people. So that's it. Kind of, we're not just doing every Tuesday. We're getting together and roasting and just keep bundling up a bunch of beans.
Yeah, so you guys aren't going to sit on
inventory.
stuff and
That's
cool.
we're just kind of like roasting as orders are coming in, and so it's kind of more sporadic.
Yeah.
We call it small batch, I think.
Yeah,
So-
it's
Small batch
small
coffee
batch
roasters.
Small
Small batch
coffee.
roasting.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
There we go.
Yeah, it's cool too just talking with you guys for just as much as we've had so far, and it's like you can tell you guys are super passionate about this.
It's so cool.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun. We love coffee, so it's a good way to get coffee for free, I guess. Somewhat.
Yeah, free is investing thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Sure, we're getting coffee
Yeah.
for free.
And just for some insight for the listeners, I think we had mentioned like Matt made us some coffee, but it was cool. Like I was finishing setting up our mics right when you guys got here, and literally walked downstairs, and Matt's just like basically brewing coffee on our couch. So I was like, this
he
is
pretty
gonna
much
be,
makes
it's
himself
gonna
at
be great.
home with coffee.
Yeah, it's gonna be a
Yeah.
great podcast.
Yeah, it's a good time. Something about coffee just gets you together, gets you
Yeah,
talking,
that's
gets you
what I'm saying.
comfortable.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
such a homey it's a scent. It just reminds you of home
For sure.
and
Reminds you
comfort
of your
and
roots.
Throwbacks.
And I think the other cool thing is too, it's because it's you guys are local. You guys are right in Rochester. You're doing small batches, but you're not just only delivering coffee to people in Rochester. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're shipping.
Yeah, you guys are shipping everywhere in the country.
Go U.S. Post Office.
Yeah.
Hey, puts food on the
Hey.
table for my family.
That's it, baby. That's it. But we shipped some orders out to Texas. We should be shipping
South
out
Dakota.
to Florida, South Dakota.
Yeah, so we've had a couple of nice
Was it
blends, man.
Virginia? Was it Virginia or
Virginia?
I forget now? But it's cool. It's cool when you see like an
it's-
order come in and you're like, whoa! Like we're shipping out to like this random state out in the Midwest. Like this is such a cool thing, and it's inspiring for us because we're like, wow, somebody in South Dakota like.
Yeah, right. It
Thought
motivates
of
you.
us to purchase our beans.
Yeah,
Like,
and they're
who am
hearing
I?
it,
You
and
know,
they're hearing it from you guys. Like that's awesome. Like
it is. It's such a cool experience. I mean, it's very much like I'm sure with the podcast when you see like where your listens are coming from.
Our
and-
random 5% listenership in Germany.
Yeah, exactly.
We got a big.
Well,
we got
Germany
a big,
and the UK.
Yeah, we got a big following in Germany.
Wow,
dude. It's
dude.
strange.
Yeah, it's very
It's
interesting.
strange.
The Deutschland.
I love you guys. I love you guys in Germany.
Yeah.
So you got to learn some
Yeah,
German.
Scotland,
man.
England, and Germany. Like, yeah, it is
Yeah.
interesting. That's not even no bullshit. Like, it is a thing. But I don't know.
But isn't that so cool?
Yeah,
You're
it is cool.
Some
I'm like,
dude in freaking
yeah.
England is listening
Yeah.
to me talk.
Yeah,
Like
it's
my
very
ramblings.
cool.
Like
Yeah.
what?
Yep.
This is it's so amazing. It really is so cool.
Yeah, but we don't drink tea over here. There's no spot of tea.
No
No
spoilers.
We
spot.
drink
tea.
we drink coffee.
We sit down, drink coffee.
Just want to make sure that's known. We're drinking coffee.
Yeah.
Dude, we just lost our whole England
That's it.
population.
We lost
all of
England.
All our
No
listeners are
international
gone.
shipping.
They're not even trying. International listenership just tanked, dude. I'm sorry, man.
Oh man, but it is cool because somebody that you're not a friend or family member is consuming the art that you're putting out, and
sure.
and this podcast for us, this is our version of art. You guys just listen to you talk. You can tell the care that you put into making sure you got the blends right, making sure that you got the roast right, all that stuff. It's an art form, and
Yeah,
now
for sure.
somebody somewhere else in this country is consuming and appreciating your art. It really is wicked awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. So I can safely say too, because we've got it recorded now. But I think this episode and the next episode we got lined up are kind of about people finding business with their own creative outlets, which I really think is super cool. I'm running out of adjectives right now to describe things, but it's super cool. I feel that way too about a lot about what I do. So it's really cool to see how passionate you guys are about this, and then like also diving into the logistics of all this crap and like shipping stuff to South Dakota,
Yeah.
like figuring out how to do it and when to roast beans and that whole like 9 yards of everything and figuring out like, because I imagine too, you guys sit down and you're like, hey, like we just want to roast beans because we're passionate about coffee, but then you're like, oh, if we need to sell these, we need to like figure out how to like when we got to roast them, like shipping costs, like all this deal.
We've
labels,
like website design,
running social media, web design. Like
they got the hats.
We're the jack of all trades, jack of all trades, master of none. You know, we're just kind of like we make it up as
necessity.
we go. Exactly, necessity is the greatest teacher, and so we're just we're dabbling our feet in multiple areas, and it's fun. It's cool. Like, you know, it keeps you young, and it keeps you interested in trying new things. You know, which I think is an important thing in life is to always just try new things. You know, just go for it. You know, even if it falls flat, well, you tried it. What's the regret going to be? The regret's going to be not doing it. So just go out there and do it, you know?
Of course. I mean, this is not a little tangential, I guess, but it related to what we're talking about. I was reading a good article the other day on saying, like, when you do new things as human beings, it creates, like, new neural pathways in your brain. So you actually figure out how to problem solve differently. So there is literally benefits to doing new things all the time in your life and forcing yourself to sort of come up with these new situations where you have to figure things out. Yeah. So I'm sure you guys are like, I'm sure you probably will think differently about certain things just because of what you've gone through already with
for sure
your roasting company and thinking like, I can do this easily now. It's probably in mundane things in life.
Yeah.
And it makes you realize what's involved and just coming out with a product itself, whether it be the hats we have, the shirts, the blends, the single origins. There's a lot involved, a lot of decisions to be made, a lot of different pieces just to put one package of coffee together that you wouldn't think, like, okay, let's start roasting, we'll start selling next month. But, like, there was so much down to the bag that we wanted, the size of the bag.
Where to get it from,
the labels,
the price.
The creation of the labels. It's like there was a lot of different decisions and different ways to skin the same cat that we had to learn.
And now you have
we didn't know.
You have this product, and now you got to figure out how to promote it. You know what I mean? That's the
you do all that, and it's like, okay, now we got to sell this thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
I do want to mention, because we're in Black Cat Studios, when we say skin the cat, no cats will be harmed.
No cats will be harmed.
Nick has two.
Yeah,
black
surprisingly,
cats.
they haven't come to the door yet. But.
Yeah.
Oh man,
didn't even know that.
I thought I also thought the cool parallels, because you guys have been friends obviously for a long time, but I thought a really cool parallel between you guys and especially Nick. Like, you guys all three of you have a big background in music. I'd say Nick was had his own band for how long?
I think it was like 17 to like 26 or something. But yeah, we played around Providence a lot. I think the biggest we played at the Met, played at Lupo's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, a couple different places.
Yeah,
so
that's a cool venue.
Yeah, we had a 3-piece, and then I played by myself for a bit. But I've always and just never stopped playing guitar since I was probably 13, 14.
That's
so
excellent.
still pick it up.
That's when we started around that age.
Yeah,
cool.
we started around 13.
I think that's the magic
early
age
teens.
where if you don't do it when you're,
I think so.
You have enough drive to like do it yourself, but it's like, it's one of those things where it's like to just pick it up. I've had so many friends, and I've said this before in this podcast, where they're like, oh, teach me guitar or whatever. And it's like, unless you have that much time, I think it's very rare that you get like over your mid 20s or 30s and you pick up a guitar, unless you're retired maybe in your 50s, 60s. But it's like, it takes so much time to do it. And
it does.
Yeah, we've been playing probably since, for me, I come from a very musical family in general. I think every person in my family plays some sort of instrument or sings. Grew up seeing my dad, play all sorts of instruments. And so, my brother plays drums and bass. I play guitar. I filled in on the drums and bass a couple of times, not my strongest suits, but I can get the job done, and we actually, Matt and I, this isn't our first business venture, but we did a little cover band last year, the last couple of years, Happy Little Accidents, and we were kind of just doing some cover stuff.
I love that name.
It was an homage to Bob Ross, the Happy Little Accidents.
Love Bob Ross.
So I beat the devil out of it, I love that, dude. A little chuckle afterwards is perfect. But so I mean, we've kind of dived into business ventures before, but something that I appreciate about Matt is he's gonna he's not scared to just dive into new stuff. You know what I mean? And I think we're both very adventurous in that way, and just living your life with a sense of adventure. And I'm sure you can totally get that. It just, just makes life fun. It makes it enjoyable, and it gets your adrenaline going, and you can take risks, and you can try new things, and it's just a fun experience. So for us, diving into Happy Little Accidents, diving into coffee roasting, it's just such a cool thing. So
And we learned from Happy Little Accidents because, like you said, new neural pathways.
Yeah.
We learned that if we want to succeed, you don't invite your wives to each show and tell them to eat and drink, because then we're working for 2-3 hours and then we're like, we didn't make any money today.
you just covered the
We actually lost.
Yeah.
Covered the lobster.
So
That's
covered
true,
the
man.
sangrias.
We
Very
learned from
true.
that. So the girls can't come near the roasters. We don't want them trying to do anything. No,
That's so
but
awesome.
the music piece, like, we grew up playing. We both grew up playing in church. We started on the Portuguese service, which, if you know anything about Portuguese music, it's complex. It's not like a 4-chord thing. It's complex. There's a lot of running bass lines and the guitars and just like a lot of, I guess, the jazz influence in a sense. So we learned at a young age that, like, you have to, it's not just strum a chord or smack a string, right? It's about how can we get creative with what we're doing behind whatever we're playing. So, like, Daniel plays guitar. He's done drums and bass. I do bass. I can do piano here and there, and then I've done
here and
drums.
there, dude. You play piano great.
And it's just like, it's another outlet where we can just let go and say, okay, let's do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, for me, behind an instrument, just like kind of behind the roaster, right? You get to just show something new, or a different sound, or a different chord progression, or even a different bass fill that somebody may have. And for me, it's like another talking voice, right?
Yep.
Like, I can go and do a running bass line, and, like, for me, that's me speaking through my
absolutely.
5, 6
Type of
strings.
expression.
Yeah, so it's like, it's nice to see. And with us playing so long,
God, we've
and
been
I'm sure
playing
you know
together
this,
for
like,
geez,
at
so
some
long.
point, you realize that, like, whatever you're doing, like, most of the time they're not listening anyway, so you just start playing. And that's when it sounds good, right? You just start playing and you're like, okay, I can get down with this. And, like, all the musicians know, but everyone else is like, wow, he's playing some 6-string thing, or what is that, guitar?
Yeah, it's funny you say it. It reminded me, it hit on a specific thing where it's like, I'm covered in a while, but like Dreams by Fleetwood Mac, I'd play that, and I just started playing the chords to it one time at like a family party or something, and like that works, and like they're not the actual chords of the song, but you can hold it down and people just know, and I'm like, dude, like people don't know, like, unless you're really a stickler,
Most
and
of
like
the time, like,
it's
if
not gonna
you
match
keep your poker face, people aren't even gonna
It's
know
not like
what's
out of the
going
same
on,
key
dude.
or anything like that, but it's one of
Yeah.
those things where it's like I think I'd start with like an A minor instead of like the bass. That starts with a bass line in it, which is really simple, but it's like one of those things where you end up realizing like most people aren't going to call you out. Like there might be some dude in the back like, screw, that's not you, but like at a family party. But it's kind of one of those things where now I'm just like, that's just how I play that song if I'm going to cover it and sing it. Like
exactly.
it's just,
Confidence
I've done it
is
for so
key,
long.
man.
Yeah.
Just
And
do
that's
your
the
thing.
Confidence
And
is
it's your
key,
take
so.
on it too, like which goes back in your voice of like I think like there's some songs where I'll cover more exact, and I think some people get a little off the rails where it's like I'm covering it. There's like artistic sort of license, but also like it
It's
still
like, who
needs
was
to
that?
sound.
Who was that girl that just did the national anthem and like did it? God,
Oh, that was
You
so
sent me the
bad.
I wouldn't
video.
even talk about
That's
There's a
not
lot of-
artistic
that was-
expression.
I
That's
think
just
That
terrible.
was awful.
I think there was
dude.
a lot of speculations that she was highly inebriated
Yeah.
before she.
yeah.
I didn't
actually
catch
sang
up with
it.
that. I
Yeah.
just saw the video he sent me, and I'm like,
Yeah.
my God.
She was so
AK,
bad.
I think she was rocked basically before
She
she,
was
sang
so
it. But
bad.
yeah, it was really bad.
She was so bad, she checked herself into rehab after
No
that.
way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I
It was
didn't
a
even
mess.
hear the stories.
Yeah.
I
afterwards.
felt like I had to
So-
go to rehab after
Yeah.
listening to that.
Yeah, really.
It
Yeah,
was a mess.
I can't hear anymore.
Yeah. I'm like, have I been tone deaf this whole time?
Yeah,
Did I miss everything? But no, like Daniel was saying, or no, like you were saying, Nick, the music piece, like people get bent out of shape when you don't hit the right lick. But I think the way you interpret that song may sound good to you and may sound good to everyone else
yeah, it
because that's
depends.
your take on it.
Yeah, it depends.
Just like that whole like Ed Sheeran thing where he was getting sued for whatever it may be. Like one of the things how he won it was like he said, I can play these same 10 songs in these 4 different chords.
Yep.
And you can say that it's, not the same melody, but we do it all the time
Yeah.
where we do a whole big mash of 6, 7 different songs because they're all the same chords.
Same chords.
Yeah.
So it's just how you take it.
Yeah.
is how it makes it Nick's song versus my song.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I was working on a new Boy Genius cover just like this week. I was looking at it. It's funny, like if you hear it, like it's the way they pluck the chords. Like I wouldn't think it was like as simple as a chord progression it was. And again, you can't copyright chord progressions. You can't because there's a finite amount of them.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You literally can't. Riffs, I forget exactly what territory that falls into.
Yeah.
It's a little bit harder, but it's still,
progressions,
I mean, really there is a finite amount of what you can logically do on an instrument where you can go note for note. The way you bend it and the way you play it's a totally different ball of wax, but it's still, even for riffs, it's really tough to kind of say like, hey, like you're copying my riff. Like you could hold it for a millisecond longer or less
And
or
then it
whatever,
doesn't-
and that's not the same thing. But
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just it's another outlet just to be able to like just showcase who
what you guys
are,
can do,
you know, and enjoy it. I think that's everybody needs like a healthy outlet.
Yep.
You know, because life does get stressful, it does get crazy, and so you need these moments to just be able to pause and like enjoy something that fills you.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, in a
100%.
healthy way. You know, so if drugs are your outlet, it's probably not the best, but you know, if you're, you know, if you find something that's really good and enjoyable for you, and it's, you know, just go into that. And so for us, it's been music for so many years, continues to be music. Then it's, you know, it's coffee roasting, and now with kid, you know, he's got his son now,
8 months,
born in November.
Congratulations.
And I have a daughter on the way, going to be born in September.
Congratulations.
So it's like, you know, that stage of life is going to bring all sorts of new exciting things, new hobbies and different things. So it's you know, it's just cool to see life develop and the seasons of life like just go by.
I love how that you guys are talking about how many different ways you have to express yourself, because I only have this one way. This is literally the only thing I do. So much so that like Daniel and I started another podcast.
That's it.
And I think we talked about it a little bit with Mike Trokey on that episode. So Daniel and I have started the Not Safe for Sunday podcast that we've been doing for 3 months now, something like that, and I'm having a blast.
Yeah, and check it out. I'm having a blast listening to you guys.
It's a good time.
Pretty funny.
Yeah, it's a good time.
Last couple episodes, man, were
But that's
very funny.
We got.
I know you're getting me if I'm like walking, because I usually like walk or run at lunch. Fortunately, I'm lucky I work at home and I can do that every day. But like, I'll just notice where I'm like, if someone's looking at me and I'm like just giggling to myself, I'm like, someone's gonna think I'm
You're
crazy.
running, laughing. People are like,
People are like, what's going on right now?
That guy's tripping.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like self-conscious. I'm like, oh, let me tone it down. Let me tone it down a notch. But that's legitimately just really funny.
Well, there's just something about Josh's laugh that gets you. It gets you every
absolutely.
freaking time.
You don't have to explain that to me.
Josh's laugh. You can't help but laugh when he laughs.
He is the laugh of this podcast.
Freaking iconic, man.
That's so funny, dude. So many people have told me that my entire life.
You have a fantastic laugh.
Thank
You
you.
do.
Thank you guys so much. But yeah, this is all I can do. I can just sit and talk.
Hey, we have a good time though.
Yeah,
You
we
have
have a great time.
You have a
great
laugh
time.
too.
What?
You express yourself with your laugh.
My laugh is I guess that's an expression of me.
Bringing joy.
Yeah, that's no. This has been a great episode. So much information that I didn't realize I was going to get today. Yeah,
It's been fun.
Yep.
and a nice cup of coffee I got.
It's weird. You have coffee roasters on. You learn about roasting coffee.
It's incredible.
There's like a direct correlation.
No, I agree with Josh. This has been super fun, guys.
Before we get into the descent, any last thoughts about anything?
Yeah. Do you guys want to give a little plug
Anything
for
that
yourselves?
we missed?
Yeah, I mean, just keep an eye out for our dark roast. We do want to announce for the podcast listeners out there, we have a special promotion code. So if you go buy a bag of coffee or something off of our website, use the code PUDS10 for 10% off your purchase. All right, so that's for our special PUDS
I'm
listeners
assuming
out there.
PUDS 10 for those of you who don't know what PEDS sounds like. Despite that, again, I don't know. People are weird sometimes. Like if you downloaded our podcast and you're listening to this, you probably know how to spell PUDs. But I'm just saying it just in case.
I get it, dude.
Just in case, man. I just want to make sure people.
Specificity is key.
I don't want anybody to be on your website.
Yeah.
Like,
Emailing us,
it doesn't work.
Spelling PUDZ.
0-star review on
PUDZ 10 and like being angry at.
PUDS 10.
Yeah. I don't want any backfire on my roots, guys.
Yeah, appreciate it. So just keep your eye out for that, and it's just been an awesome time being here.
Yeah, and if you don't follow us already, Instagram, Facebook, it's Roots Coffee Roasters, and then our website is rootscoffeeroasters.us.
Yeah, you can't use a promo code if you don't know the website.
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent.
That's
So
important.
the website's where people can go to buy your coffee and any memorabilia.
Excellent.
And that's where they can put in the promo code. So
Yes.
get out there, get on the website, follow them on social media, please. Give these guys your business.
Keep in touch if you have any requests too for any special types of coffee.
Yeah,
we're always
we're
into
looking.
trying to roast new things and come up with new things. So
Trust me, I don't buy any other coffee now because it is
loyal.
it is,
You, I think, are
Yeah.
our most loyal
it is
customer.
that
One
good.
of them.
It is that good. And you guys do whole bean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys do ground
Ground.
and ground espresso. You guys
We
do
could do any different variety of ground. So
Okay.
ground drip, ground espresso, and I think it's ground French press.
Yeah. So
Okay.
we'll grind to whatever you need.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we'll do a Chemex if you need to, pour over, whatever it is.
Cool.
But we have
If you have a
on the
special request, just
website-
message us.
Yeah, exactly. But on the website we have specific ones: so espresso, drip, French, and then we have the whole bean.
and like we said, they will ship anywhere within
Yes.
the United States. So don't be afraid if you live in. I know we have a lot of listeners in New Hampshire. If you live in New Hampshire, Connecticut, Germany,
Yeah. You want
maybe
some-
not Germany.
Almania.
Yeah.
We'll have to see what the shipping cost is for Germany.
I don't know. Maybe a friend at the U.S. Post Office could help us out.
It's steep. It's gonna be a steep
It's gonna be a
charge.
steep-
It's gonna be a steep charge.
Well,
A
you know,
lot of stamps.
When,
a lot of stamps.
when Nick goes back to Portugal, we'll send a few bags with him.
Yeah.
If you want to
Smuggle
buy in
some in.
Portugal,
Smuggle some
it's
in.
just probably gonna be a little while before
Yeah.
he gets there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we'll make sure they're
Oh,
fresh.
man.
though.
Oh, man.
Meet him at the airport. All right, let's get into the descent.
All right, man. So, do you have a fresh hypothetical?
I do have a hypothetical. And if you guys are not familiar with what the hypotheticals are, it is a game.
It's a hypothetical on steroids.
Yeah. It's a game. It's called Hypotheticals. And basically what it does is there's a question or a scenario that asks a question. And then it's supposed to be a conversation starter. So,
All right.
We haven't had one fail as yet.
yeah,
Okay.
they are very intriguing.
Knock on wood.
Yeah,
All right.
watch. This is the first one. Yeah, I was like, what was this about?
All right. Nick,
Josh.
for whatever the reason, 2 unauthorized movies are made about your life. The first is an independently released documentary, primarily comprised of interviews with people who know you and bootleg footage from your actual life. Critics are describing the documentary as brutally honest and relentlessly fair. Meanwhile,
And also, I do want to stop. So this is directed to all of us
Yeah.
too. It's like
Alright,
you said,
okay.
Nick. Like, but it's like,
Okay.
yeah. Think of it because we're all gonna
yeah.
respond to it.
Alright.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Columbia TriStar has produced a big-budget biopic of your life, casting major Hollywood stars as you and all of your acquaintances. Though the movie is based on actual events, screenwriters have taken some liberties with the facts. Critics are split on the artistic merits of this fictionalized account, but audiences love it. Which film would you be most interested in seeing? So,
That's a mouthful.
Can we get a summary?
Wow. Yeah. Holy
No,
crap,
Josh just
dude.
read this fresh.
That's a lot of
So-
freaking words, man.
one is an actual documentary of your life, and the other one is a almost fantasized documentary of your life with. So one of them has real footage of your life that you did not authorize anybody to have, and the other one is movie stars portraying you and your friends and is Hollywooded up. Which of those 2 films would you rather, I guess, see
The second one.
with the famous actors?
Yeah, and just like fake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of the real story.
Yeah. I think
Josh
that-
be Jonah Hill. I'm getting Jonah
Dude,
Hill vibes.
what?
I'm getting Jonah Hill vibes.
This is the other thing. This is the other thing that everybody always tells me. They tell me I look like Jonah Hill. I do not look like
Yeah.
Jonah Hill. Dude. I don't look like Jonah
They
Hill.
said it like for me too, especially when I used to have my curly hair. They said that I look like.
Oh,
Jonah
I
Hill.
think it's your wittiness and quick responses
Yeah,
that was like
sure.
part of it. And
Yeah.
Your
All right.
your sarcastic
into it.
snarkiness that
Plays
you have
into it.
sometimes.
Yeah,
That I
yeah,
love about you,
man.
but like, yeah, I could see it. I don't think it's necessarily the physical thing.
yeah.
So, the first film, the film that's like who has the real footage of your life, that one is more critically acclaimed. Like the consumers like that film more than
Sure.
The Hollywood it out. So you're still on the Hollywood?
Yeah, I don't care.
How about you guys?
I'm on the Hollywood.
You on the Hollywood too?
Yeah, you're on the Hollywood train.
I'm definitely on the Hollywood.
Yeah, I feel like I need a little bit more drama, so I feel like the Hollywood would dramatize it a little bit.
Okay.
You know, I'm not gonna lie, I've had a pretty like straightforward, pretty simple life, so I don't think it'd be too interesting. I don't think the first one would be too interesting for me. You know, I mean,
even if it's critically acclaimed, it's still.
Even though, I don't know what they're critically acclaiming.
That'd be my question. Also, who's shooting video of me that I don't know about, and then turn around and making money off it? It seems like there's more.
If the critically acclaimed one is like an Office style like documentary of my life, like I'm all in on that one.
That's a good point.
I definitely like if they started interviewing people like in the sidebar about interactions with me, 100% I'm in.
Yeah, the Office. Yeah,
who would be my Dwight Schrute? I don't know.
See, I think I'd like the first one more. Just because I think there's been some wild things that I'd like to re-see.
I think you have. I want to re-see you on that sailboat.
Oh, in summer camp?
Yep.
Did you guys hear this
what
story?
happened in summer camp?
My mother sent...
Oh, boy.
Like Matthew, I grew up in the inner city, okay? My mother sent me to sailing camp, okay? When I was a young boy. Young, hefty young man, okay? Just a very hefty, very, very fat, little, like, 11-year-old boy.
Okay.
Loved basketball, all right? Baseball. My mother sent me to sailing
Not
camp.
baseball or basketball camp. She sent you sailing.
Sent me to sailing camp.
Unprompted.
All right.
And I fell off the boat, okay? And as a hefty little young boy, trying to get back with no upper body strength, trying to get back into the boat, trying to get my leg over the boat, dude. Man. Got my titty popping up the side of the life.
There it is. I was waiting for it.
Right off the side of the life vest. And it's like
it's popping out there.
It's embarrassing.
Stopping you from getting your grip.
You had your nip slip, dude.
Nip slip for sure, dude.
It's it was a very embarrassing time in my life. Okay?
It's been so long since you told the story that I felt like it was warranted again.
I would love to see that moment actually now.
So I'd like to rewatch my life in the way that I lived it.
Fair enough.
So who would play you in your movie?
Me?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think one of the Hemsworth boys.
Zach Galifianakis for me.
Yeah.
You got Zach?
Yeah, all day. All day.
I don't know, man.
I think one of the Hemsworth boys, like
I can see that.
not Chris, but like Liam.
You're too kind, but yeah.
Liam Hemsworth, maybe.
Yeah.
How about you, Daniel?
Just a nice Aryan.
I'm terrible with actors.
The guy that played Borat.
Oh yeah,
I could see that.
Very nice.
I haven't known you that long, though. Yeah,
la la la, king of the castle, have a chair, king of the castle.
This is my sister.
My wife. Oh man, good stuff. Good stuff, boys.
Guys. Yeah.
Yeah. So follow Roots. Go on social media. Follow Roots. Go on their website. Order some coffee. Use promo code PUDS10. Yeah, man, it's worth every penny. You guys, if you enjoy stuff. Coffee, if you like good coffee, you're gonna really like Roots. So please go out there and give them some of your business. Give them some of your business.
Show some love.
Sure.
Show some love.
Yeah, and thanks again, Matt and Daniel, for coming on over.
Thank you.
And,
Thanks for
chatting with us.
Appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
This was a great time.
It was.
Yeah.
It was nice to collaborate. Nice
Absolutely.
to get together.
Thank you for being
100%.
patient with us, dude.
No problem, man.
We out here now.
Yeah.
We're just keeping that content churning. But this was really interesting. I mean, for real, like learning all the insights about coffee roasting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
I agree.
I'm glad you guys enjoyed
Appreciate
it.
sharing.
Yeah, we enjoyed it too. It was a good time.
Awesome. And don't forget, like, review, subscribe. You can
Comment.
follow. Yeah, comment, text us.
Yeah, shoot us a text message.
If you want stickers, reach out. We'll send you some stickers.
Yep. I'm gonna have to do a new graphic and reprint soon because
Yeah.
I'm almost out.
Yeah, we got to do it. We got to get something new out there. We got somebody maybe working on a logo. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll follow that one down the road. We'll kick that can down the road.
Yeah.
But yeah. So until next time, bippity boppity, give me the zoppity.
Bye. PUDs Podcast was produced and recorded in Black Hat Studios by the Pud Boys. Find us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you enjoyed, please consider leaving us a review and subscribing. Find us on social media, and we'll see you next time.